In this video, we are putting the new all-wheel drive Prius on the rollers here at the TFL slip test to see how the all-wheel drive system works. We're also going to hop inside of it, check out the interior, get it up on the lift, and tell you everything you need to know before you buy an all-wheel drive Prius. Welcome to the TFL slip test. So in this evaluation, we get various wheels of this Prius stuck in these rollers on purpose to see how the all-wheel drive system and the traction control system works to get us unstuck. Now, we did have a chance to drive the previous generation of Prius all-wheel drive through this same test, and well, to be honest, it didn't perform very well. Let's play that now. All right, we're gonna need more manpower. All right. Now, this test is supposed to replicate snow, ice, slush, that kind of thing. And one of the reasons the old Prius struggled, not only in the slip test, but in my opinion, in some of those slipperier conditions, is down to the components in the all-wheel drive system. So these Toyota all-wheel drive systems have an interesting setup where the front wheels are powered by electricity and gasoline. There's no drive shaft down the middle, and then the rear wheels are powered by electricity only. But the old Prius had a little dinky 7 horsepower motor on the back. This new Prius has a 40 horsepower motor on the back. We'll try that in a second. Now, first up is the rear wheel slip test. So both rear wheels are stuck, the front wheels are on the ground. We're gonna let the vehicle settle into drive, normal mode, like you drive it every day. Onto the throttle, just a teeny tiny bit of slip, but the rear wheels were ready to go. They had that torque from the electricity and the gas engine and pulled us right down. Not a surprise, it was easy. Let's try the next test. Stepping inside the new Prius, this interior is quite phenomenal. This one, XLE as equipped, $36,587. A very space-age dashboard layout with the centerpiece being the 12.3 touchscreen display. It's the latest and greatest in Toyota multimedia. It's got user profiles and it works pretty well. I have a tendency just to leave it in CarPlay and let it do its thing. And there's still a volume knob, albeit on the passenger side, which is really quite nice. Below that, physical controls for the climate control, and we also find heated seats. In this particular example, this vehicle has gotten to USB-C ports up front here with a hidden cubby that glides open like that. A little bit too much piano black for my taste along the center. In the middle, you're gonna find your wireless charger, gear selector, drive mode selector, and then the weirdest part of this interior are the steering wheel and instrument cluster layout with the instrument cluster riding above the steering wheel. This does have the Toyota safety system, so it's got all the latest and greatest in adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, emergency braking, that kind of thing. And this one also has the option for a $1,000 glass roof that's broken up into 2 parts, one in front of the front seat passengers and one above the rear seat passengers. Front wheel slip test, so this is where the old one really struggled because of that little dinky rear motor. Let's see if the more powerful rear motor in the new Prius has what it takes to get us unstuck more easily. Normal mode drive, traction control on, like you drive this vehicle every day. To drive, foot off the brake, wheel slip, some throttle, full throttle. Interesting. It's not giving us enough torque at the rear end to get us unstuck. Sport mode, full throttle in sport mode, traction control light blinking. We need more out of that rear motor. Huh. Eco mode? Wow. What is going on? This was not at all what I was expecting. I mean, is there anything else I can really play with? There's no snow mode in this vehicle. We can try it in B mode. Sport mode felt the most aggressive. Let's see if we can go B mode, full throttle instantly. What am I going to do? I don't know if there's much else it can do. We can try traction control off. Traction control off, sport mode, into drive. Okay, finally. So sport mode, traction off, mash the throttle, and that did the trick. But that was a little bit disappointing. I was really hoping we'd get more torque delivery from that rear motor. But until I turned the traction off, there just wasn't enough to get us unstuck. Stepping into the rear seat of the Prius is where we start to see the downside of this space-aged futuristic design, because rear seat headroom is definitely at a premium. I am 6 feet tall and I simply just don't have enough headroom back here. It doesn't help very much if you get the non-sunroof version either, about the same amount of headroom. Legroom is good, just a little small hump in the floor and then a couple more USB-Cs down here to keep your devices charged in the back seat. And then this does fold down for 2 additional cup holders, and of course that $1,000 glass roof option does give you a little sunroof there. It's a pretty spacious rear seat from a legroom standpoint, but definitely not from a headroom standpoint. The trunk space in the Prius is right around 20 cubic feet, which is less than the outgoing model due to the shape of this vehicle. It does have a nice flat floor though, and if we go ahead and fold down this seat, you'll also find that that floor continues onto the back of the front seat with this little flap to cover the gap, which is very, very handy. You also have a view blocker here, which can be taken out for additional space. And then if we look underneath the floor, you're going to find this foaming material for weight savings, but that's also going to give you some additional storage. All right, so a little disappointed in that result there. Now we have tested a bunch of Toyota all-wheel drive systems with the hybrid SUVs. Let's see how those compare, because the layout is very similar with the no connection between the front and the rear. Front wheels are spinning, just a little bit of throttle, and we're down. Well, that took a lot more spinning than I thought it would take. All right, in a drive, foot off the brake. All right, now for the diagonal slip test. Very common in snow and ice. The left front, right rear stuck in the rollers. Imagine you're going up on a steep, slippery curb. This is often what happens. Let's see what happens in our roller test. Okay, rollers are working. We're in normal mode. Took a little bit of effort, but we were able to get off just with consistent throttle action. Eventually the car figured it out. Now for our 2 most extreme roller tests. So this first test is a 3-wheel test with the right front on the ground. The other 3 are stuck. Being a front wheel drive bias system, hopefully we're gonna get able to get unstuck. So we're traction control on, normal mode, like you drive it every day. Onto the throttle, full throttle. All right, so not bad. So we obviously got some shifting on that test as a torque transferred. Caused us to slip around a little bit in the rear, but pretty good torque transfer. Ultimately, that right wheel was engaging, and that did pull us off. So we're gonna try it one more time with one rear wheel on the ground. All right, final test. Only the right rear is on the ground. This is gonna be a real challenge for the all-wheel drive system. Whew. Let's see if Toyota can have a quick redemption here. All right, here we go. Normal mode. Come on, Toyota. Not enough torque transfer in normal. How about sport? Nope, not in sport either. How about traction off in sport mode? No. It's hard to kind of show on camera, but having done many slip tests, you get a real sense when the car is really trying to work itself off, and there's just none of that going on with this Prius. So we'll need a push. Case! I think we're gonna need a push, my friend. Really interesting. You know, when Toyota said, you know, that big increase in available power and torque to the new generation, I was hoping we would see an improved all-wheel drive performance, and it's perhaps a little better, but it's not as good as I was hoping. There we go. Kind of drove off the side of it, but we were able to get off with Cases pushing. With the Prius up on the lift, we can see how it's engineered. So this is based on the TNGA-C architecture up front, so 1.8 liter gasoline engine, mated to a series of electric motors. Total system output is 194 horsepower on the front wheel drive, 196 on the all-wheel drive, and 220 on the plug-in Prime model, which is front wheel drive only. A little bit of a miss. McPherson strut independent front suspension. Not a lot to see underneath here because everything is extremely shielded. There's a catalytic converter. It is still fairly vulnerable in my opinion. Actually, we got a couple of them here. Being able to slice that out wouldn't be much of a challenge, which is a big problem in the Prius community. More aero shielding as we make our way back, and then the rear diff is of course going to be all the way at the rear of the vehicle. Just a little guy mounted there with that motor unit integrated into the rear end. And it's an independent rear suspension setup, 40 horsepower rear motor, and then that makes its way to the rear wheels, of course. At $36,000, I think the Prius is pretty decent value considering some of the interior features, but more importantly considering the EPA rating on this vehicle, which is 49 mpg combined, a very impressive number, and now it's a very attractive car as well. The all-wheel drive system did disappoint a little bit today, but it's worth noting there is minimal ground clearance in this Prius, and it will take you through a decent amount of rain, slush, maybe light snow conditions without issue. If you wanted to go through much more than that though, you're going to run into ground clearance issues probably before you run into all-wheel drive limitations. Folks, let me know what you think in the comment section below. A big thank you to Case behind the camera, and we'll see you in the next video.